They gave my husband a raise the same exact day that I got laid off. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Tanisha and I am so excited to be here. This video is well overdue. I have been very disobedient and I repented and asked God to forgive me. I should have gotten this testimony out, but I'm like, God, I feel like there's more. Like, I know that there's more, but he has told me, I need you to share what has already happened, what I have already done, what I have already gotten you guys out of. Let's just hop right on in. We are from Tennessee. We had our own home. I was a stay-at-home mom. And I remember vividly, I was sitting down on our couch and my toddler was sitting there playing. He was having like his little tummy time. And I remember vividly hearing God's voice say, you need to move. And it was urgent. Like it felt urgent. Like I've never felt anything, heard anything like that before. Like I was shook and I was like, huh? I immediately called my husband and I told him. He was like, what? And he ended up having to go because he was busy with work. So he ended up like texting me a couple minutes later and was like, well, where would you want to move? And I'm like, okay, God, I heard you say that it's time for us to move, but where? And immediately Texas came up in my head. So as I'm going to text my husband, Texas, he texted me at the same time I hit send and said, what about Texas? He came home that night, we talked about it, and we were like, okay, God, if this is what you are calling us to do, we need some confirmation. From that point until we moved, we received confirmation, whether it be a license plate or conversations with other people, we received the confirmation. We moved without delay. My husband's mom is a realtor. We told her and we got our house on the market. We did not tell family and friends besides our parents because we didn't want anyone to persuade us out of it or talk us out of it. I knew what God said, and I'm grateful that my husband trusted me and he was with it. We put our house on the market and we didn't tell anyone until our house was officially sold. We ended up having like going away party with like our closest friends and we told everyone, and that was that. We sold our home, paid off our debt. We gave stuff away that was in our home. We did not go to Texas with anything except for like some clothes and our cars. So we shipped our cars. We had a few pots and pans and stuff. We took a flight, packed up the kids, took a flight, and we headed to Texas. I did a lot of research on where to move. We do not live in actual Houston, Texas. We live on the outskirts. We live about 30 minutes away from Houston, which I love. So we live in the suburbs and I love it here. The school system is great. It's pretty diverse. Absolutely love it. The initial plan was to sell our home, pay off our debt, and stay in an Airbnb until we bought a house. My husband has a great working background. He would get a job and then we would buy a house. Well, wrong. God was like, y'all have your own plan, but I have something different. Everything was great until it wasn't. It took my husband almost a year to find a job. We both applied to so many jobs. I know he applied to over 100 jobs, which was actually insane because he has a great working background. So we were very confused. I mean, he couldn't even get on at Amazon or Target. So at that point, I'm like, okay, his background is in finance. And I'm like, okay, so you're not even getting on at Walmart? I mean, Target, Amazon? That just doesn't seem right to me. So I'm like, maybe God is just telling us to be still. So even though we paid off our debt, we still have our other car note because we had 2 cars. We paid 1 car off, so we still have 1 car note. We still have our cell phone. We still gotta eat. There wasn't any income coming in. But we ended up having to do like DoorDash and Instacart, which was a very humbling experience for me because I'm just used to having my Target runs or my Marshall's runs or going out to lunch or breakfast with one of my best friends who was also a stay-at-home mom at the time and just doing what I wanted to do. There's nothing wrong with Instacart, DoorDash, any of that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it was like I felt like I don't want to say that I felt like I was too good for that, but that's low-key how I felt. Having to do that was just like, dang, I'm not used to this. But thank you, God, for allowing me to be able, or allowing us to be able to do something. Thank you for allowing us to have gas to be able to feed our family. So after a while, we ended up having to sell one of our cars so we could get some income. The car that we ended up paying off, we had to sell it. So now we have one car. At that point, I'm like, okay, God, did I hear you right? Did I hear you right? Or was that my own thoughts? Because I know you did not move us to take everything away from me and my family. Like, I know that. And so he would send me small messages to let me know that you are right where I want you to be. Like, you got to go through it. I want to pause right here to just say this was a part of suffering that we had to endure. This is something that I had to go through in order to be where I am right now with Christ. I also want to give a big shout out to our parents, one of my best friends, Tanice, and a couple that God has sent to us during that season that we were in. They were truly a huge help during that part of our suffering. They prayed for us and gave us so much encouragement, and I am so grateful for them. One thing about my husband, he is a provider. I don't care if he got to pick up trash, that man is a provider and he's going to provide. He was doing courier work. I was still filling out applications. No one wanted to hire me. He ended up having to go back to the car business. That was the one thing that I did not want for him because we'd never seen him. That was another reason why we were excited to come out here for a fresh start, because I'm like, okay, maybe we could try something else. Maybe you could try something new. We had to end up going back to the car business as a car salesman. A little bit about my husband. He was in the car business as a car salesman, and then he was promoted to a finance manager and then promoted to finance director. That was kind of hard for him as well because he's so used to making a certain amount and then having to come down. It's just like, I don't know, it was hard for him. He went back to being a salesman and we ended up having to get an apartment, which was very hard for me. We went from having a 4-bedroom house that we owned, and then we had to go down to get a 2-bedroom apartment. In the moment, I'm like, what is happening? Like, I feel like we're going backwards. We're supposed to be going forward. We could have gotten a rental house, but there weren't any that I liked. Like, I fell in love with this apartment that we're in right now. The price, we paid more for this 2-bedroom apartment than we did owning our own home, which is insane. I'm still very grateful to be here. I've learned to love this apartment. There's been a lot of praying and going to war in this apartment. It's crazy because my husband was like, why didn't we just get an apartment when we first got down here, paid it up for the year, and then invested our money into something else? And I was like, because it wasn't supposed to happen that way. God didn't want it to happen that way. He wanted us to go through all of this for a reason. And now that where I am in my faith, I know why he made us go through all of this. At the time I didn't, so we just had to continue to have faith. One thing that I will say is God never let us go without. Like, we never had to go without. We were always able to pay bills. We were always able to feed our kids. I'm not sure if I've already said this or if you guys don't know. I am a content creator. I've been a content creator for just a couple of years, and it has really blessed my family tremendously. I ended up going viral a couple of times, but when we were in this apartment, I ended up going viral, and at the time we really needed the money. A big brand reached out to me and wanted to do some work for UGC content with me, which is where you don't have to post on your page, they use the content. So they ended up reaching out to me. I worked with them, and I still work with them to this day. I made the most I had ever made as a content creator, and it blessed us tremendously. Glory to God for that. One day, my husband he's working as a salesman, and he gets a call, and the man is like, don't know where your resume came from. It was just laying on my desk, but we are hiring. We need a finance manager. When can you come in for an interview? My husband went in for the interview, got hired on spot. If that's not God, then what is it? Who is it? That's nobody but God. I don't know where your resume came from. My husband didn't even remember applying to the job, which He probably didn't because he applied to so many, but it was random. He gets hired on spot. He got the job. Everything was great. It felt too good to be true. The money was great. He was making more as a finance manager than he was as a finance director in Tennessee. Like, what? Like, that is crazy. That happens, and then a couple of months later, he loses the job. Y'all, he lost the job. And I won't speak on it because that's something that my husband went through, so that's something that he would have to speak on himself. I was actually devastated at first, but then there was something in me, in my spirit, that was like, everything happens for a reason, you know, like, y'all are gonna be okay. We still have money. I had done another partnership, got a lot of money from that. We have money saved up from finance manager at that job. So we had money saved up. And so we were fine. Like, thank God we're still able to pay our bills. We were fine. Thank God we saved. One of my best friends ended up getting a job. After a few months, they were hiring. I applied, I got hired on. And I was like, okay, God, you want me to go back to work? I didn't feel any type of way. I was okay with it. I was grateful that I was able to be a stay-at-home mom for 3 years, and I'm going to do anything or whatever I have to do to help support my family. And right then, my husband needed me, and I was there, and I was happy to support. So I get the job. A few months later, the same company that my husband had lost a previous job, they called him and they were saying they want him back, but at a different store. So he ends up getting that job. Glory, hallelujah. And he's still there to this day. I'm sorry, y'all, I missed a piece. So before that job called him, while I was working, we ended up having to put my toddler in daycare. Before the old job called him back to work, he was working as a car salesman. And so I would have to, remember we only have one car, get our older kids on the bus, take my husband to work. I would take my toddler to school, come home and work, and then my oldest boys would get off the bus. I would get them from the bus stop, and then when I got off from work, we would go get my toddler, come back home, do homework, cook dinner, all the things. Go get my husband from work, pick up my husband from work when he got off from work, and then we would all come back. So that was like, we had to do that for months, and it was so draining. And I was like, God, I'm struggling. I was praying, and that's one thing I will say. I had faith, strong faith. There were times where I'm not gonna lie, I questioned God, and I was hurt and I was upset, but I still had faith. I still had that faith of a mustard seed that he's gonna bring us out. Fast forwarding back, so he ends up getting the job at the place where he works now. He gets the job. This is so wild. He gets the job, but it's now 45 minutes away. So instead of him being literally 5 minutes away at the previous one where he was at, this job is now 45 minutes away. Remind y'all, we only have one car. I'm still working. My toddler's still going to school. Thankfully, the school's like 3 minutes away. So my husband is using the car to get to work. Well, I would take our older kids to the bus stop. He would take our toddler to school in the morning and then go to work. And I got off from work, pick him up via Uber. It was a lot, but I was so grateful. Even though I had to Uber, pick up my child, and I was still very grateful. After 6 months of working at that job, I log in and my manager lays me off. A few of us got laid off. I honestly was not that upset about it. I was in denial. I was shocked. I knew we were gonna be okay. I called my husband. I told him. He wasn't stressing it. He was like, we're fine, we're good. Within 30 minutes of getting off the phone with my husband, he calls me back and says, why did they just give me a raise? Y'all, they gave my husband a raise the same exact day that I got laid off. Within 30 minutes. I couldn't do nothing but cry and just give thanks, because what? Now, here we are. My husband is still at the same job. He just recently got another raise. It's just crazy to me that he's a finance manager and he makes way more than he was making as a finance director back home in Tennessee. that just amazes me, and it's nothing but God. During this time is when I really and truly found God. I grew up in the church. I fell away, I backslid, I got into the new age things, and I found him when I hit rock bottom here in Texas. We fell on our face, and I know it was all for a reason, but I truly found him. I have a relationship with him, and I'm so grateful for my testimony. And I know that we have more, there's more coming. I plan to document our journey here in Texas, vlogs, my journey as a disciple, as a wife, as a mother, as a stay-at-home mom, as a creator. I just want you guys to know, and whoever is listening to this, and if you're in your waiting season, to trust him. Trust him. Have faith. Have faith. Have faith. Hold on. Hold on. Keep holding on. Believe in him and know that he will not leave you. That is it. I hope that this testimony bless you. I'm so grateful for where we are right now in the season that we are currently in. I'm very grateful and happy about 2025. I can't wait to share my journey. And if there's anything that you want me to discuss or talk about, feel free to let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for joining. Until next time, guys.